Hey everybody. So I thought once I reached about 500 subscribers, I would go ahead and make kind of a corrections video. I've been getting only a few, surprised to say, comments that kind of point out some flaws from my earlier guides. Of course, I'm always learning as I'm doing this stuff, and my intention has always been to kind of just provide some tips and guides and help to people, especially trophy hunters, as they play the games that I happen to play as well and enjoy. So we're going to look at a couple games, about 4 or 5 games, and we're going to go through a couple things that I did in some of the guides, and we're going to redo them for you, and I'm going to add some audio commentary for some of the ones that didn't have it, and we're going to take a deeper look into some of the things. Now, the first one we're looking at here, obviously, is Superliminal, if you couldn't tell. And in my Superliminal Full Collectible guide, Greggy Adderley 5782 asked, why is there not a single person who shows how to make the cheese ramp work in the first level? It's so frustrating. It doesn't help that no one shows how they actually create it. Only the aftermath of them already on the vent or across the gap. Come on, guide people. And I took this to heart, and I don't remember exactly why I didn't have that shown in the video until I went ahead and tried to do it again and realized it just took for absolutely ever to make it work. And I figured nobody wants to see me struggle with it for a solid 20 minutes. But if that's what Greggy here wants, that's what we're all going to get. So here we go. So we're going to speed this up in a second here, but this is the cheese wheel at the very end of the first level. What's it called? Introduction, I think it's called, or I don't remember what the first chapter of Superliminal is called. But here, if you walk straight from where we are, like behind us right now, there's a gap you actually fall through and you end the level. But what you need to do is create this cheese ramp so that you can jump on the vents here and walk across the vent to the other side to get the blueprint that is in the next room if you want to get all the collectibles. So I wanted to show where the collectible was. I figured that was the most important part, but we're also showing you here in 2x speed how to attempt to make the cheese ramp. So I struggled and struggled and struggled with this. What I was always finding was no matter what angle I would get it till it was almost big enough, and then I would try to resize it a little bit bigger, and I would clip through it, and all of a sudden it would be too small. And it was such a frustrating mess, but we're doing it. What I believe I did at one point was I got it to work where you could jump on the light that's hanging there, but I attempt that a couple times while I'm doing this, you'll see, and it just does not let me get on the light. So eventually I angle it, I believe, on the ladder in such a way that I can walk up and actually just jump to the vent. And you'll see it soon enough here. I'm not sure how much longer this goes, but it definitely goes for a long time. This is the thrilling content that I've saved for you until I was at 500 plus subscribers. I know this is exactly what everyone was waiting for. Sometimes this stuff, it's not pretty, See, this would be perfect if I could reach the cheese, but now it's wedged itself. Get it? Cheese wedge. Wedged itself so high that I can't even get on it. And it's way too high. So you just have to fight with it. And guess what? We're getting close to the end here. Looks like we're about to see it happen. Or I just give up. So I got a lot of Superliminal was one of my biggest video series, guide series, A lot of compliments, a lot of comments, a lot of views, especially on this full collectible guide. I was very happy to see how many people were able to use this. Here we go. See, because of the slanted opportunity here, we just keep jumping and we get on. So that's what you need to do. So I hope Greg and I think he had 2 replies here. Let me see who gave the replies. Looks like James. You know what? I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure who made the replies. So I won't call them out either. So it worked, and then I tried to get off and then back on, and then I had to fight with it. But there you are. You go to the other side where it's lit. You walk. Now again, this is the same save that I did all the other stuff with. So it would, I believe, disappear once you clicked on it here, and then you would have that recorded as a collectible. So that's how you make the cheese ramp. And of course, in the beginning, I also showed how to make the very first cheese ramp, because I wasn't sure if they wanted to see that too, just in case it helped them. And then you go down the hole once you have that collectible, which I believe I do here. We have our second superliminal correction here. So this was a bit of unfortunate timing, I think. The game had an update probably about a month after I released all of my guides for the game. And that update ended up moving a couple of fire alarms. I think it was just the alarms. I don't think the extinguishers were affected. So this is, I believe this is the beginning of the clone level. So this fire extinguisher is good, but here in my guide, there was a fire alarm here, and it is no longer there. It's about 24 minutes into the guide video. And people sent me a lot of notes about that. And then over here as well, this fire alarm no longer present, but it was originally in the game. And the doorway that we walked through had this green door there, that first doorway that we walked through. Sorry for moving it, no longer on the video. The fire alarm right here, gone. That's also gone. I didn't realize it was gone when I made this, so that's why I walked by it so quickly. These two are good, and then we get to the doorway. I believe that's the doorway we're supposed to go to, but these two are still here, right? And that's the decoy. And then we climb up this once we clone it. And we move on. So please keep in mind that I didn't scour the entire video and check every single fire extinguisher and fire alarm. There may have been a few more taken out, but those were the two that everybody was nice enough to let me know. So I do appreciate that kind of feedback. That's really helpful. So this room is in here because it's a little different. It's about 29 minutes into the collectible video. This is still the clone chapter. This extinguisher is right, but only one side here has the fire alarm next to the double doors. Here on the left side, it's still here, but on the right side, they removed it. And they changed the back half of the room here to just a full ramp up to 2 sets of stairs. I don't know why they made these changes, but they did. Very strange. But yeah, it's always interesting when they make these kind of changes after you spend, I don't know, like 5 months testing and retesting and putting the guide together, and you finally put it out, and the game changes on you. This is our third correction for Superliminal. And this is something that a few knowledgeable viewers let me know. So here is a little miniature setup here, and if you're not familiar, you have to basically create kind of a paradox here. You have to go through the room that you're standing in by way of going through the model, so that you are basically an Inception style reverse. So you got to make the model version big enough, go through it. I think I'm going the wrong way here. You got to go through it this way, so we got to make it bigger. But this is not the reason I'm doing the correction here. Now that we are in the model version, shrunk down. So, because this is a guide that I have already played through the game once, twice maybe, even at this point, there is a little area that you cannot get into on your first playthrough, no matter if you want to or not, and that is the back of the Jungle's Bistro. In my guide, I showed how to go in there and get the hidden chess piece. I believe there might even be a second collectible in there. I don't really recall what it is, but the truth of the matter is you cannot get in there. And I know a lot of people have used this guide as they're going through it for the first time, and I didn't realize that it was closed off on your first run through. But all of my capture was from my second playthrough. So here, this section, if you get into this, I even wrote it in case people are not listening to the audio, this back entrance is only open on your second playthrough and on. It will not be open the first time. It says closed for business or closed, come back later, something like that. Everybody let me know that on the Switch version, on this version, on that version, it says closed. I can't get into it. So the reason is the game developers did not want you to go into that area on your first playthrough. They figured it was a little too much for new players to handle and to worry about. So hope that helped. That was Superliminal. We're moving on. Merrily Perrily. This one's kind of unnecessary because it's just a section of a video that visually didn't work. There was just kind of a video capture issue with the video, and somebody also complained that I'm doing everything over and over again, showing how each of the different perils can be received instead of going straight to the next peril. And the two things with this one is, by the way, this is Merrily Perilly. This is the Highlander Poopular Reference and Seclusion Conclusion video that was put out about 3 years ago. The reason I had the video problem was because of Share Factory. It just didn't, for some reason, it froze when I was standing here. Kind of, I think that's exactly where it froze, actually, when he had the leech on. And then you could hear the game audio continuing, and maybe I was even talking with video commentary at the point when it was frozen here. But you know, it was just basically from the vampire to the point where his head is put on fire by the girl at the well, which we're about to walk to here. So I'm just showing this sequence of perils in a row, and then, as I said, someone else complained that I'm showing them all in the same sequence, because I would show each of these perils and then the death, and then I would start from the beginning again and go from one to the next to the next. I found it just made more sense to go every single peril. And if you didn't want to see the perils you had already seen, you can always skip through the video. So this is where I ended this video capture, at least here in the chapel. You can stay here and get Seclusion Conclusion and become a priest yourself, become a man of God, and have a happy ending for once. It'd be nice if he had a happy ending. But that was basically it. I just wanted to show the content that the video capture didn't work for from that video, from the Highlander Poopular Reference, Seclusion Conclusion. Plus it also gave me another chance to say Poopular Reference, of course. All right, and here is the piece de resistance. It's not our last guide, but it is the one that people just don't believe I did it. So this is Untitled Goose Game, if you couldn't tell, and fantastic game. And this is the back gardens quickly. And so you're seeing me go through a reference, a sequence here. And this is the only way I can really make it work. So I'm going to talk you through this, and this is going to be a video guide with commentary for this section because people really struggle with this. So what I did first was I moved the cricket ball and bat into two separate areas, and I dragged the newspaper from the one neighbor to the ball to make him have to go and pick up the ball and then have enough time to go pick up the bat and then put everything in its place so that I could grab the three items on the table, the glasses, the pipe, and the hat, and to bring them past the little archway or pergola or whatever that is called. Because if you don't bring them far enough out of his line of sight, he will come down and he will ruin everything and you'll have to start all over again. Then I switch the three items from neighbor one to all of the clothing items on the line here to bring them over, because we're going to eventually put them in his water. I also bring over the vase for very much later in the competition. And I also dragged the rose, the prize rose, down. So I did all that just in the nick of time so that she did not get me out of there. I took the ribbon off of the fake goose. I made the ramp. I was going to hit the bell because I thought I had just enough time to get him to spit out his tea, but I did not. I also moved the soap down. All this happens very quickly, and this took, I would say, probably 30 attempts. Here she's going to cut off the rose. That's important for later. And you can move these pieces, this pipe, glasses, and hat, in whatever time you need to this spot right here. She's not going to stop you. She's going to decorate the bird bath in whatever time you need her to do. She'll put like the pipe in, she'll put the glasses in later, whatever you need to do. That's one thing you don't need to stress about. But I wanted to keep her distracted so I could drag the goose, the fake goose, behind here and get into position. And this is one of those moments here where if things don't time out perfectly, you could be waiting here forever. And there's not much you can do. And she can also see the goose and know that you've moved the fake goose and that you're in the way. But we made it work, and we got the ribbon, and that's all you got to do for that. Here he is drinking his tea, so we hit the bell. That is also crossed off the list. We already have the three items on the bird bath. Now we need to get the soap over to neighbor one by using this ramp before she gets it out of our mouth. And I'm lucky enough that he is facing the other direction, still distracted by the bell. Very lucky. So we're going to start throwing everything in the water before he notices it. Thankfully, he did not notice it. I don't think he's noticed the rows either, which is very good. All we need to add to this, we have the soap, we have the 2 socks, and the brassiere. We just need to add one of his slippers, and we will be taking off those slippers both. So if you aren't aware, basically what we're doing here, since I'm talking so quickly, as I go for the 1 slipper, and it works perfectly, he doesn't even notice it. You have 3 minutes between the time you start any section in this game and the town bell rings. 3 full minutes to do all of the things on this map. We have to make him go barefoot, and we have to make the vase broken. So basically, to break the vase, you just have to bring it to neighbor 1 here, who's reading the paper, and he will throw it over to neighbor 2, and it will break. We need to take off the first slipper when it is in the foot that he's shaking right now, and then later on when he's drinking tea, he will cross his legs the other direction, and then we'll be able to take off the other slipper. We've already gotten all the items in the bath. We had the rose ruined. We got the 3 items from neighbor 1 onto the bird bath. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else we missed. And that's all you have to do. You just have to take the second slipper off and then bring him the vase. He notices the rose. And here's where you can get into an issue with time, because these 2 neighbors are very unpredictable. They're so unpredictable, and they can ruin a perfect run just because they want to just spend way too much time arguing over who cut whose rose and who broke whose vase. And if you don't have anything else done, if you're waiting for them to like complete something else, it could be very frustrating, and it could ruin a run just because the neighbors decide to do things in a different sequence. But there you go. We completed the back garden to-do list before the bell rang. So as you are attempting this, if you're not familiar, if you look at your little notepad, there is a post-it note that we're going to probably take a look at very soon, and it tells you how much time you have left. So if you are in a situation where you're waiting on that last thing to be done, it's either this post-it note here says we have less than a minute left, but we definitely we got through it with flying colors. And this is a completely different sequence of events than what I did in the original guide. So, you have to be able to think on your toes and kind of adapt to what's going on around you. But, eventually you're going to make it work. I believe in you. You're doing good. You're doing good work. All right. Our final guide to visit is Donut County. This guide series is really, really special to me because this is the first guide series I ever did. I absolutely loved this game, and I played it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start using Share Factory. I'm going to make some guides for this game because it is such a fun and comforting game. So we're going to take a look at the Bandit trophy here. And I'm seeing that we are definitely, there's a point. There's a point to this. So I'm scooping up all the trash here in this hallway between security and the labs, because one of those, I think, 4 crumpled pieces of paper has the hint that we need on how to get into that vault right there. And this raccoon is doing a very good job of guarding the vault. I'm going to scoop up. Sometimes this hole, it doesn't work perfectly, but once you have enough in there, you can toss the raccoon up, and what you really want is that red badge there. So we're showing you the entire event because I think in the original guide I cut too much out. It was a little too confusing. And I also didn't do audio commentary. So we're going to talk you through what happens here. The problem with this trophy, the problem that always is everyone's issue, is it's a matter of hitting the buttons in the right sequence, but only hitting them once each time. And the reason it's an issue is because you're using the snake here and its tail to hit the buttons, and it's very jiggly. It's very uncontrollable, to be honest. So grab the snake, and then it will make a device to hit the buttons, I guess you could say. So I pull up Trashpedia. This is the sequence: up, left, down, left, and then hit the grab button. So it doesn't really matter where you start, but I like to start at the right side, in the middle. That way you'll be able to hit all the buttons properly. And you see how many times I accidentally hit that left button. So we're gonna run this sequence until it works, basically. And you see how the snake tail just kind of jiggles a little bit back and forth. You really have to be careful. You're hitting it just right. So it looks like I cut out some of the failed attempts here, just so you don't have to watch it for too long. But pay attention to how I hit the buttons, please. Up, left, down, left. Definitely hit that down button too many times. That's why it didn't work. And you will know it works because it will show you the vault opening. But you won't be able to get to the vault until later anyway. Put it back into position, and we try again. Up, left, down, left, and grab, and it works. Now if you notice, especially that the last button hit I was about to do, I almost hit it twice because the snake was moving around so much, but I just tapped it just once. And again, it doesn't matter about timing, rhythm, anything like that. It just matters that you hit each button only once. So we're going to let the rest of the sequence play out here, but that is all you need to do. You need to go into the next room. You need to deal with the roach and the bird, get those out of the way, and then you get the frog. Get the frog to eat all of the flies, and then he gets real big and fat, and then release the 4 bunnies. And then let them go in the hole, and then they multiply, and then everything explodes. You'll see it happen in the sequence here. But then move on to the next room, and once you finish with the... Actually, I don't think you have to finish with the second room. I think once you finish with this room, you can go over to the vault. So we will resume commentary once we get to that point. That room fully done, and now we can leave. This is where the Bandit trophy should pop for you. Again, I would suggest you reference the original trophy guide to see when it pops. My hole was not big enough to grab all this gold, and of course, in the end, it doesn't matter if you grab it or not. You don't actually get to keep the money or the golden quadcopter. You'll get to play with the quadcopter later, though. Right? Is that? I think it's after this sequence, not before, where you get the quadcopter boss fight. Yeah, I grabbed a couple bunnies to make it bigger. Again, you don't have to do any of this. You already have the trophy once you get into the room. But I figured it was just nice to get it done. So there you go. So that was a few corrections, a few fun little trips down memory lane, a few revisits to some of our older guides before audio commentary, before I knew what worked and what didn't work. I don't even know if I know what works yet, you know. We have more than 500 subscribers. I appreciate every one of you for taking the time, and I hope all these guides, especially this one, help you. Take care.